What's up, movie lovers? Welcome to episode number 40 of Ready Play Movies, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of entertainment. Every Tuesday, on Tuesdays, at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases, what we're watching, big topics of the industry, and the movies we love. If you want to write anything to be read on the show, send us an email to readyplaymovies@gmail.com or hit us up at readyplaymovies on Twitter. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave us a nice review. This is supposed to be October 12th, 2021. I'm your host, Louis Menchaca, and joining me today is absolutely no one. Yes. If you're a video watcher, you can see that there is literally no one here on this empty box next to me. And for you audio listeners, you can just hear me ramble on and on and on for about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours. I think this show is going to be 2 hours. I think there's just too much to talk about that I could really pretty much talk for 2 hours about all the stuff that's going on in movies right now. As a matter of fact, I actually have about 2 weeks worth of news to go over. So I really couldn't miss this week because of how much there was going on. So I pretty much have to cover it all. So Troy is all right. He's working. I think I mention it very briefly last week. I like an offhanded remark that Troy is working. So he can't make the show this week, and he was supposed to be in for next week. As far as he told me, but I forgot to tell him that I'm going to be out of town next week. So I'm going to be going on vacation. But you guys will still get a show. You'll get another one-man show. I'm planning on recording a one-man Ready Play Movies, and I'm gonna do all the segments. I don't know, but I will. Definitely need to do next week's show on time for audio listeners because of the DC fandom is this weekend coming up. So I pretty much have to cover DC fandom on time. So that's not gonna wait. As far as being on time though, video people, you guys get your shows on time because I am now doing a 1 week delay going forward. So for the people on the audio people, they should have got your episode on October 12th. So for video people, you'll be getting that same episode drop a week later on October 19th. This video is on a 1 week delay. So if you are thinking to yourself, video watchers, that this news is kind of old news is old, then you guys can go on the description, go to the Spotify. There's our Spotify link is right there, or really any audio feed for that matter, any podcast feeds you guys like to use, whether it be Apple or Google Play or whatever. Go to your audio feed and follow us there, and you can listen to the episode right when they post. So I'm gonna be posting this on Thursday morning, just because I am, again, I guess I keep saying, I'm a bitch. I'm a lazy ass bitch. Without Troy to come over it on Monday nights, I have no pressure to get the doc ready and get the script ready and get all the research done. So I just sort of kind of like laissez-faire, just kind of like whatever. I'll just do it whenever I do it. And I was really tired, honestly. On Monday, I worked on. Monday was a holiday, which was Columbus Day, and so I ended up having to work. And when I got home from work, I didn't really want to do the podcast, so I just started been a lazy fat ass, and then I did it again on Tuesday, and so here we are. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. I've never done a one-man podcast before. I've never actually, just got on the mic and talked. I mean, I've seen plenty of people, YouTubers, do it all the time. I mean, there's always like, one-man shows that just happen when you want to do a YouTube video. It's always cleanly edited. Then this is not going to be that. I'm just going to sort of ramble. So hopefully you guys just bear with me and just sort of don't get annoyed by the sound of my voice. But anyways, we're going to be doing the usual segments and everything like that. I got the whole show planned out for you guys. There's too much to talk about. I have about 2 weeks worth of news to talk about, and that's because last week's show, if you guys didn't already see it on the audio feed, but last week's show was a Squid Game spoiler cast that I did with Dan, and it was a really good 1 hour podcast. It was nice and short and sweet. If you have not seen Squid Game, you can still watch the spoiler cast. The first 20 minutes of it are spoiler free. I encourage you guys to check it out, as well as to check out the show itself, because actually I probably don't even need to tell you that because it's burning up the Netflix chart still. So anyways, with all that out of the way, all the housekeeping's done and everything, I'm going to go ahead and just move on to our usual segment. This is a segment that I would have done last week had last week been a normal show. It's time to go back to the future.
Marty! You've got to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the future.
So with Back to the Future, I'm a little like impressed and disappointed. All right, I'm impressed by the quality of the stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I'm disappointed that there wasn't a lot of horror movies. Like when I think of October, I'm thinking like you're gonna have your like big marquee like horror franchise, and there were some in there, but there weren't like I don't know like a lot more. I was expecting more out of it from the horror standpoint of things. So let's go ahead and pull up the doc here up on screen. I have of course, all the stuff here put out here for you guys to see. So 5 years ago, October 2016, we got The Girl on the Train, which I remember back in the day, like it was a big deal in the office when people were reading the book and stuff right before the movie came out. There was The Birth of a Nation, the Ben Affleck movie, The Accountant. Then there was apparently I didn't even know this movie even existed. By the way, Max Steel, which is like I remember watching Max Steel as a child, like in like the kids WB, whenever they had a cartoon, and now they just turned that into a live action superhero movie. Um, Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. Completely forgot that there was even a sequel to Jack Reacher. Uh, Ouija, Origin of Evil. There goes that horror movie. Keeping Up with the Joneses. Boo, a Medea Halloween. Kind of seems like the Medea franchise sort of just fell off out of nowhere. Denial, the Oscar-winning Moonlight, and I didn't even know there was a third movie in this franchise, Inferno, which stars Tom Hanks, and it was the Da Vinci Code, and it had a sequel in '08, which was Angels and Demons, and now Inferno. I followed that, so completely didn't even know that there was a third movie in that series. But there we go. As far as like my thoughts, like I think the biggest movie out of all of this was The Accountant. I actually kind of like that movie because it was Ben Affleck versus damn the guy that played Shane in The Walking Dead. I can't even like and freaking Punisher. Fuck. I can't even think of his name. John Bernthal. There we go. So yeah, John Bernthal. It was really good. It was really good. How do I put this? Movie where they had like had Ben Affleck played an OCD character, but very well, like very just perfect. And he, you believed him. He was a badass, but also like kind of like very OCD and everything like that. And he was just perfect, like in that role. And I think that was a really good movie. I believe there's a sequel that's in the works. I can't believe it's already been 5 years and they haven't got that sequel done yet. But yeah, that's like the biggest one that I would see. I'm pretty sure I watched Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, but I really don't remember it at all, like at all. Um, I never watched The Girl on the Train. I wasn't part of that book club at work. And as far as like Ouija, whatever, I don't really do that. I don't do horror games, but I can do horror movies, but only if they interest me. And this one didn't interest me. And yeah, I think that's about it. I don't really have much to say about any of the other stuff. If Troy were here, I'm pretty sure he would have had something to say about like Medea or something like that. I don't know, but but I am assuming too much though. Next up, we'll go ahead and move on to the 10-year mark, October 2011, which we brought out Real Steel, which is kind of funny because Max Steel came out in like October 2016. There's no relation between the two. Whereas Max Steel was like I don't know, a comic book movie, I guess, so to speak. Real Steel was an original movie where like it's kind of like Rock'em Sock'em Boppers with starring Hugh Jackman. Then there was George Clooney, Ryan Gosling movie, The Ides of March. Then there was the remake, not starring Kevin Bacon, but the remake of Footloose. Then there was another remake of The Thing. And then there was The Big Year. I forgot what that one was. And then there was Paranormal Activity 3, which was a big franchise at the time, and I remember watching all the Paranormal Activity movies in theaters. There was another retelling of The Three Musketeers, which had Logan Lerman in it. And then Johnny English Reborn came out, which was his name, Rowan Atkinson. And then we got The Mighty Max, don't know what that is. Puss and Boots, did not know that came out. I would have pegged it for a Thanksgiving release, like a November release, but DreamWorks' Puss and Boots came out, and I remember liking that movie. Antonio Banderas was really good in that movie. It was really good in the role for Shrek, and so surprised that they didn't really have like a sub franchise where like he has the sequels or whatever. I thought that was a good movie, and I'm pretty sure it was even commercially successful. So, anyways, next up, and I'm rounding it out almost, is a Justin Timberlake movie called In Time. And In Time, I remember was a really good movie because I watched it like I remember like the experience of watching it in the theater with my friends. Um, it was one of the first times I remember. I vaguely remember like starting to go to like a movie tavern, because I would always go to a traditional movie theater, like actual like real movie theater. No, like you just get popcorn and candy. Movie tavern, they have like of course alcohol, which now movie theaters do have as standard now. But at the time, it was like they had served alcohol, and then they actually had like waiters that would like you can press a button to like get a waiter to like bring you like food like off a menu, like actual like hamburgers or whatever the hell. And so it's like dinner and a movie like all sort of rolled into one. So I remember watching In Time on at the tavern, and I was the only thing I was disappointed by is how small the screen was. It's like a smaller theater, but I don't know. It could just have been that specific thing. But the movie itself, actually, to talk about the movie, In Time is about Justin Timberlake. It stars Justin Timberlake and his character. Like all the characters in the world of In Time, they're all like stopped aging at the age of 30. So time is currency, and it's kind of like in your wrist, and it's like some kind of digital like screen that's embedded into your wrist, where you have a countdown timer like counting down, and when it hits zero, you die. So like if you're rich, you have the most time. You have years and years and years, like, and you'll like basically be immortal as far as like you'll never age. You stop aging at the age of 30. It's an interesting concept. Yeah, there was like the poor people tend to walk fast because they have to be somewhere really quickly because they don't have time, whereas rich people they tend to walk slower because whatever, it's time is money kind of thing, whatever. So I thought that was really interesting. It was a really cool premise, and like Justin Timberlake's character was basically playing like the what is the word I'm looking for? See, I kind of wish I had somebody to talk to bounce off of. It was like it's basically kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of situation that they had going on. It was like I think it was Amanda Seyfried was the co-lead. And finally, there was The Rum Diary, which was starring the now canceled Johnny Depp. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the 10-year mark. I do remember watching. I just got to say this. The only movies I did watch was In Time, Puss and Boots, and Paranormal Activity 3. I don't think I watched any. Oh yeah, and Real Steel. Yeah, I don't think I watched any of the other movies. But I gotta say about Paranormal Activity 3, I feel like that was the way where they truly jumped the shark, so to speak. Like they started going like too big, I guess, or too heady with some of their lore building and stuff like that, and they were sort of just making it up as they go along, and just sort of tacking on more lore and stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of is what it is. As also, I didn't put this on check this out later on, but there's a new Paranormal Activity movie being made, and it's being made exclusively for Paramount Plus. So they're just trying to get those Paramount Plus subscriptions going up, but it's not going to be a theatrical movie. So, and also I just wanted to say about Real Steel. I thought that was actually a pretty good movie. I liked it. They had like the Xbox branding and like in a billboard in the movie, and it's called the Xbox 720, which was before Xbox One was officially revealed. And it's kind of funny because I don't know, like it's like, oh, what's next after the Xbox 360, right? You do it again, do another 360, and that's 720. But I don't know why they didn't do it. I think they could have gotten away with it, but then they would have been made fun of because it can't do 1080p. It's 720p. Ha ha ha. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but whatever. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. So let's go ahead and keep it pushing for the 15 years. Let's see. So 15 years ago, this brings us to October of 2006. And what's kind of interesting about October 2006 is I was in high school. I was a junior, I believe, or senior. I was a senior in high school, actually, at this time. And I remember a bunch of these movies, like, in theaters, like, when I was in school. Like, I remember talking about some of these movies with my classmates in high school. And specifically, I'm going to just kind of sort of skip around, but the very last movie on the list was Babel. and Babel was like I believe a limited release at this time, and it didn't get like a true re-release slash a push to like maybe like the early '07 for the Oscars. And so I remember like that being one of the first movies that was in theaters when I was working at the movie theater when I first got my job at AMC. So I think it just sort of takes me back to a time just seeing this. But yeah, so we got the Oscar-winning The Departed. I think actually let me try it again. The Departed. I think that's how you're supposed to say that in the title. I think you're legally required to say it that way. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. The Dane Cook Jessica Simpson movie, Employee of the Month. There was The Grudge 2, and then there was the John Cena movie, The Marine. I actually watched that movie, unironically. He was getting his acting chops in. Then there was the Robin Williams movie, Man of the Year, R.I.P. Then there was One Night with the King. Don't know what that is. Then there was a horse movie. I don't know what kind of horse, whatever. Flicka. It was called Flicka. I don't really care about that. Surprisingly, I did not know this, but The Prestige opened at this time, and I remember it in my memories being a summer movie, but I guess, it is what it is. But I actually do remember watching that movie in theaters with one of my cousin. And then there was Flags of Our Fathers, which was I believe it was like a two-part Clint Eastwood movie where he did Flags of Our Fathers and then Letters from Iwo Jima. And I think I liked both movies, but I think I liked Letters from Iwo Jima better. But it was like the same conflict. It was during World War II, and it was the same battle, sorta. But it was told from both sides. So Flags of Our Fathers was told from the American side, and Letters from Iwo Jima was told from the Japanese side. And I remember thinking the Japanese side was better because it was very much more heartfelt. It was very sad and just crazy. Whereas Flags of Our Fathers didn't actually focus on that battle. Whereas Letters from Iwo Jima was stuck in that battle and it played the whole battle from the beginning to end from the movie. But in Flags of Our Fathers, it had the battle featured very quickly, but it was more about more than just the battle. It was like a U.S. tour because it was like the big iconic picture of the soldiers raising the flag. That picture that we all know. It's been sort of made iconic, and so yeah, it was mostly about that moment than anything. Then there was Marie Antoinette. Kirsten Dunst did that movie. Everyone knows Marie Antoinette from that quote. Let them eat cake. Then there was Running with Scissors, Saw 3 when that was back in its heyday. I think that Saw 3 might have been peak Saw in my opinion. I don't know if it peaked at the box office, but quality-wise, I think it peaked there. Then there was Catch a Fire and the aforementioned Babel. But yeah, I remember watching a bunch of these movies, even in theaters. I remember watching The Departed in theaters with my family. It was such a good, captivating movie. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio did the damn thing. Jack Nicholson, Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon. They were just really, really good in that movie. And I was just very impressed. Very impressive movie. And honestly, I could probably watch it again and just still enjoy it like I'm watching it for the first time. I haven't really seen it much, since, but in my memory, it sort of stands the test of time. Then there was Employee of the Month. I remember watching that one because, I think this was back when Dane Cook and Dax Shepard were at their height of their careers, I want to say. And I remember I remember this one scene where I think it was Dane Cook and Jessica Simpson's characters, went on a date and then Dane Cook took them to the store where they worked at as their date, so because they are these characters, they worked in a warehouse, a store warehouse, think Sam's Club or Costco, and so they worked at one of those kinds of chain warehouse stores, and so he decides to take them on a date at the store that they work on, after hours, after the store is closed and they have that store to themselves, and it was actually kind of chill, and it's really interesting how he made it work. And it's a small little plot, like a small little thread in the bigger point of the movie, but it was really so I guess impressive in the sense that it was impressive that he pulled it off, and also impressive that he's such a chill character that him not trying kind of won her over. It was like, oh, you're not trying, that kind of stuff. So there's that, and God, I don't even remember the Marine. Like I watched it one time, and I haven't watched it since. And I don't remember hating it though. That's interesting though. Let's see. Yeah, I think I pretty much said my piece on everything. Saw 3. I ca See, I have all the Saw movies sort of like sort of blended in together as like one big mesh. So I think Saw 3 was like the one where Torben Bell's character, I guess spoilers, where Jigsaw actually dies at the end, or he does or doesn't. I don't remember. I think with Saw 3, his character dies, and then in Saw 4, it's flashbacks a lot. So yeah, with Torben Bell's character dies, and then he's got his new disciple, and he's chewing her out for making the game inescapable and stuff like that. But yeah, next up we have the 20-year mark, and at 20 years we have October of 2001, Training Day. Okay, there you go. Denzel Washington's, Ethan Hawke. The movie Training Day. We got Serendipity. We got Joyride, Max Keeble's Big Move, Bandits, Corki Romano, Iron Monkey, Riding in Cars with Boys, From Hell, The Last Castle, 13 Ghosts, K-Pax, On the Line, Bones, and Donnie Darko. This is an interesting pick right here, an interesting litter here, because Training Day was like the iconic movie that's been parodied to death like so many times. Like, I actually watched Chappelle's Show first before I watched Training Day, and in Chappelle's Show, he had Wayne Brady playing like the Denzel Washington's character, and it was so good. Like even without knowing the reference, that sketch was hilarious. It's like, I'm Wayne Brady, bitch. So there's that. And the movie itself was actually still pretty good. Like I watched it years after the fact, because in 2001 I would have been, let's see, in 2001 I would have been 13. So I don't think I would have been interested in watching a rated R like movie like that. Well, not to say that I didn't watch rated R movies. It's just that like, it didn't really appeal to me. It's like not to say it's a drama, but it kind of, sort of, a Denzel movie sort of appeals to an older crowd. So with Training Day, when I watched it like later on when I was in high school, or whatever, I thought it was actually a really good movie. I think there was like one of those like interesting like moments that I remember watching in the movie where he had a whole side chick with the whole side family, like just kind of just chill, like a whole safe house that he goes to, and I was like, damn, a whole fucking side family. And then there was Serendipity. Now, what's kind of interesting about Serendipity is that it was a chick flick. And, I was roped into watching that movie. I think my brother went on a date with his then girlfriend, and I was just sort of like tagging along. And so I watched that movie in theaters, and I actually kind of liked it, even as a 13-year-old, however old I was at the time. I watched the movie in theaters, and it was, I think, since it's a romantic comedy, I think the comedy for me landed enough for it to warrant it being all right in my book. It's not. I'm not like all like one of those like kind of like helpless romantics. As a little preteen as I was, but I actually enjoyed the movie and I thought it was pretty good. I think the movie's on DVD somewhere over here in the bookshelf somewhere. Joyride was R.I.P. to Paul Walker. Damn, there's just so many actors that aren't alive anymore. Paul Walker and Steve Zahn. They there was this. It was all like it was like a prank movie where their characters like play a prank on a truck driver, and then the truck driver goes apeshit berserk on them and gets their revenge and hunts them down. And it was a crazy intense movie, like very intense. And what's kind of funny is like one of the only like memories that I have of the movie, like because like I know I have specific scenes that I play out of my head, but the one scene that does play out, and this is just like, the most dumbest thing ever, and I don't know how to explain it without it sounding sus, but like basically it was the naked scene of like where the truck driver like on the radio tells them to get naked, like Paul Walker and Steve Zahn's characters to get naked and go inside of the store and like order some food or whatever at I guess it was like a restaurant or a diner or whatever. And the only reason why I remember that scene is because like that's the first scene I saw when I watched the movie. Like I didn't even watch the movie. I think it was like a situation where like my family like rented the movie and they rented the movie and were watching it. I think on either this TV, I want to say, like in the living room back when we were in an older house, or not this TV, but a model exactly like it. But anyways, so they were watching it on the TV in the living room, and I just sort of like walked in on them watching the movie, like, "Hey, what's up?" or whatever, like just casually walking in, and then boom, that scene was playing in the on the TV screen. It was just them in the naked. I'm like, "What the fuck?" And then I'm like, "Whatever." And then I watched the movie like after the fact. I think it came to like HBO, like when TV, like, and I watched the movie from beginning to end. But yeah, this is some dumb shit right there. I don't even know why I even bothered telling that story. It's just so weird. Like that's the one scene that sticks out. It's because of that. Max Keeble's big move. I think I would have been too old for that because I wasn't into kiddie like Disney ass movies like that. Bandits. Something about that title makes me like think that I should know that, but I don't know right off the top of my head. So let me see if I can pull it up here. Bandits, 2001. Oh shit! I know this movie. Okay, this movie. It was a Billy Bob Thornton, Bruce Willis movie, and the one scene I remember the most was the movie from the movie Bandits was the scene where they played in the trailer, and that's like the scene that got my attention, and that's the scene that just played really well even in the movie. So in the trailer, they show Bruce Willis's character robbing a bank, and they rob the bank. He robs the bank with like I think a highlighter. So what he does is he has a highlighter, and you know how like the highlighters have like a certain like feel. Like I have a highlighter up there. I'm not gonna reach for it, but so they have a certain like circular feel to them, especially when they have like the cap that goes on the other side or whatever, and it like clicks in. So you got like basically two circles, and so what happens is Bruce Willis's character like jams like a highlighter, the back end of a highlighter, to a security guard's neck, like just like bah. He's like, and he makes the security guard think that it's a gun since he has his back towards Storm. He's like, hey, don't move. He's like, all right, slowly reach for your belt and undo your clip on your gun and slowly pass the gun over to me. I was like, all right, thank you. There you go. There you go. So he slowly like hands the gun over to him to his backside and stuff like that. And now Bruce Willis has an actual gun now. And so I thought that was like one of the most cleverest things I've ever seen. And I honestly forgot like the whole plot of the movie and what else happens. But that's the one thing that I remember the most is the scene where he was like successfully robbing a bank with the highlighter. Corki Romano was like a dumbass movie. I think it starred what's his name? The guy from Saturday Night Live, Chris Kattan. He was like he was born into like a gangster family. It's like a gangster comedy movie, by the way. He's born into like this mafia family, but he's like the black sheep who doesn't like violence or, he's like whatever. It's like whatever. He's just dumb. His characters. The movie was dumb itself. I'm pretty sure. I'm not even sure if that movie even made any money. I'd be surprised if it did. And let's see here. The Last Castle. The only thing I think we have that movie on DVD somewhere back here as well. The only thing I remember about The Last Castle specifically was this scene where this guy had to like, and I watched the movie back in the day, by the way, when I was like, however old I was. But the only scene I remember was whenever he picks up the rocks and he had to like move the rocks all the way over from one pile to another pile, and he had to do it all by himself, and everyone in the prison had to watch him do it, and he was like almost collapsing and almost falling apart in like the heat or whatever or exhaustion, but he only had like 3 more stones left, and the rest of the prison are cheering him on. I was like, come on, man, don't give up, don't collapse, whatever, and he does it. So yeah, and I don't even remember. Like I think it would have been even more cruel if they even like made him. Like I don't remember if they did or didn't, but it would have been cruel if they made him like move it back. But whatever. 13 Ghosts, that movie was scary for the time, but I actually recently watched it on HBO Max, um, like I think last year during COVID, and the movie was not scary at all. Uh, it was scarier for the time as far as like, oh my god, it's a haunted house and crazy ass like ghosts, like how do I put it? Like it was ghosts that are like very violent and they're gonna come kill you, and it was like very crazy ass imagery, and there was like a lot of scenes that I remembered even to this day. Like I remember certain like deaths that like were like reminiscent of fatalities in Mortal Kombat. K-Pax, it was like Kevin Spacey. He was playing like an alien, or you don't know if he was playing an alien or just a guy that's crazy. We don't know. I don't even know if they even answered the movie, or I don't even remember if the movie gave you like a definitive answer. But in K-Pax, Kevin Spacey is an alien. He's talking to a psychiatrist or whatever, and he's giving an interview, and like it's like, is he real? Is he legit, or is he not, or whatever? So, yeah, that's kind of like what the premise of the movie is, or at least that's what I remember. On the Line was a Lance Bass, Joey Fatone movie, so it was sort of like riding on the popularity of NSYNC, and it was like a romantic comedy. I've only seen the trailer of it. It looked dumb, even from a trailer. And then Donnie Darko, honestly, I don't remember that much of the movie, and I don't think I even got it because like I watched it like I want to say in like '04 because I want to say '04 because I was in high school and it was after Charlie's Angels, and I remember like dang Drew Barrymore. She looks she's like from Charlie's Angels and all that stuff. So yeah, Donnie Darko. I'm pretty sure I didn't even get it. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. I think I've seen like many YouTube video or think pieces about it, and I still don't get it because like it's just too much going on. Yeah. So, anyways, we'll go ahead and keep it pushing. 25 years ago brings us to October of 2006. I'm sorry, October 2006. No, fuck you. October 1996. So 25 years ago, we got The Glimmer Man, D3, The Mighty Ducks, That Thing You Do, The Long Kiss Goodnight, The Ghost in the Darkness, The Chamber, Sleepers, okay, Get on the Bus, Swingers, High School High, Thinner, and The Associate. So, yeah, interestingly enough, I actually have a couple of things to say about some of these movies. 1996. I remember watching D3 The Mighty Ducks like on VHS back in the day, and I didn't think it was that good or as good as D2. I think D2 was like the high. Like D1 is very. I've seen all three of them, right? So D1 is very like they're assembling the squad kind of thing. It was like kind of very rough around the edges kind of thing. It wasn't. I think D1 might be the worst out of the three, to tell you the truth, because it was just so, I don't know. I guess without knowing the word I'm trying to think of, I just think of sort of like raw, like as in like they're not fully formed, they're not quite together. It was just very like I don't know, sort of not just sort of scrappy, not very well polished. Didn't seem like it was just like sort of like they were just starting doing a movie, that kind of stuff. And then with D2, they had it seemed like they have a bigger budget or bigger, a more cohesive team and all that stuff like that. A more heart, I felt like. So yeah, with D2 was definitely the favorite, and then D3 was like a sort of like I don't know, like a retconning of sorts of D2 because now the characters are in high school, and there's like they did this miracle play, this badass play that they did in D2 called the Flying V, but then in D3 they just sort of shat on the Flying V and say, oh, that move sucks, that kind of stuff. It's like that shit don't work. And they just sort of like I don't know. It was, with D2 you sort of like leave on a high, and where they're singing on a campfire, "We are the champions," that kind of stuff, and then you gotta see what happens with D3, and these characters kind of sort of suck after that. Not like, yeah, it's like when you see your heroes like in a sequel and they're not living their best lives; they're actually miserable. That's sort of what happened with these characters for the most part. Like they sort of peak too early, and then now and they're in high school, and they just don't have like the heart of like Emilio Estevez guiding them anymore, and they're all like kind of sort of lost in the shuffle. And I think they sort of like play it better. I think the movie, they kind of come together and stuff like that, and they have the iconic uniform, that white thing, the white jersey with the duck and everything like that. That logo that everyone knows, right? They didn't really have it in D2, but I don't know. Like I just remember in D3 not playing well with me. I'd have to rewatch it just to see what happens or if I can see it from a different perspective as an adult. But for me, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, damn, they're shitting on everything. That thing oh yeah, that's what happened. I remember D3. It was a different coach. Yeah, then everyone, I didn't like him. Nobody liked him. Anyways, that thing you do, I think it was a romantic comedy. The Long Kiss Goodnight was like starring Ashley Judd, I want to say, and Samuel L. Jackson. I think it was like I think I watched that movie back in the day. I don't remember anything about it. Sleepers. I do remember a lot about that movie because I watched that movie well after the fact, well into my adulthood. I never even heard about it, and then like sometimes like when I was like having like cable TV, I would just watch like flip through channels, right? I would just kind of like go on HBO, what's on HBO, and then one days like Sleepers was playing on HBO, and I'm like okay, and so I watched the movie and it was intense as fuck, and I'm like holy shit, this movie is dark as hell, and so it stars Robert De Niro, Kevin Bacon, Brad Pitt, Dustin Hoffman, and I can't think of anyone else, but I'm pretty sure there's more famous movie stars in this movie. Like a lot, by the way. Like I'm just sort of like having a brain fart. I'm just sort of going off of memory here. But anyway, so it has a bunch of child actors, and I think some of them were even famous. I think Brad Renfro was one of the child actors at the time. So like actual famous like child actors and stuff like that. And like the Brad Pitt and certain other characters were playing their adult versions of these characters. But the movie was kind of sort of split into two, and it's like a movie where you have characters that how do I put this? These characters that they're like they're kids. They're like boys will be boys. They're in the 1950s. They're just having like a summer where they're just sort of hanging out and stuff like that. And then but yeah, they do this thing where they steal a hot dog, like a hot dog cart. Like a guy that's like a street vendor that sells hot dogs. I don't know if it was like a prank or they were just they were hungry. I don't remember what it was, but they were stealing this hot dog cart, and the guy is running after them and chasing them, and they're like trying to run away with the hot dogs and stuff like that. And then they accidentally fucked up and they throw the hot dog cart down like some stairs, like on a subway, the entrance to a subway station, and so the cart just sort of like falls down, and then it hits somebody at the bottom of the stairs and kills them. And so now all these kids are in trouble, and they get in trouble with the law, and they get put into juvie, and they have to have a sentence in juvie, and they're in this detention center, and it's being ran by Kevin Bacon as the warden of this detention center, and yeah, it was the movie was about like Kevin Bacon and his cohorts that were molesting. I guess I should say trigger warning. But yeah, they were touching the kids. And so the movie then picks up with like a flash forward, like 20 years later, or whatever the hell, and like the kids are all grown up. They're all grown up, and because it was juvie, like after a certain amount of years, like those records are expunged. So whether like the fact that they were even in juvie is completely like not even on their records. So they just gonna go on living normal lives as adults where they are not held to like any kind of like former convict kind of thing. There's no what do you call it, stigma about their lives, about like you're a former felon kind of thing. So because they were in juvie, and so some of the characters within the movie, they ran into Kevin Bacon just by pure happenstance. Like two of the victims were just at a diner, and then there's Kevin Bacon just showing up to eat some food. And so when they noticed him, they recognized him, and they knew exactly who he was, but Kevin Bacon didn't recognize them. And so then they just go and kill him, like just straight up, just kill his ass. Revenge, getting the revenge and stuff like that. And so a bunch of the movie is about like the second half of the movie, or at least the last third of the movie is about like a trial about whether or not to find these guys guilty for murder or cold-blooded murder, because it's sort of trying to dig into the reason as to why he was murdered, or what, is there justification and all that kind of stuff, and sort of like attacking his character, like Kevin Bacon's character, and sort of getting these things out in the open about what kind of a man he actually was and all that stuff. And I don't remember how the movie ended, to tell you the truth, as far as like where they were found innocent or whatever the hell, or found not guilty, whatever. But yeah, the movie itself was intense as fuck, and a lot of great performances from all the actors and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I'm going a little bit too long on the segment. It's like it's already like 40 minutes into the show, and I haven't even done, like, I've only done 25 out of 50. So I'll go ahead and pick up the pace here, and let's see here. Let's go to 30 years ago, which brings us to October of 1991. We got The Super, Ricochet, Shout, Suburban Commando, Paradise, Ernest, Scared Stupid, back when like there was like a lot of Ernest movies, like Ernest Does This or whatever the hell. There's Shattered, Frankie and Johnny, Little Man Tate, Other People's Money, Cool as Ice, starring Vanilla Ice, Curly Sue, The House Party 2, and The Butcher's Wife. See, most of these movies I never even watched. I never even heard of most of these movies. Like, and if I did hear of these movies, I heard of them by name only. The only movie I actually watched out of this lot is Little Man Tate, which again I just discovered it by flipping through channels, watching HBO or whatever, or Cinemax or whatever the hell, when we had cable, had our cable package, growing up. Little Man Tate is a movie about a little man Tate, like a little boy named Tate, and his character's he's like a boy genius, right? He's like 9 years old, and he's attending college, and his mom is played by Jodie Foster. And yeah, I think that's all I really can tell you about it. I remember watching the movie. I remember liking it. I thought it was cool. I don't remember much about it. So that's what happens when you watch movies only like one or two times in total in your life. They just sort of like fade. Next up, 35 years ago, October of 1986, we got Playing for Keeps, Tough Guys, Deadly Friend, Jumping Jack Flash, Peggy Sue Got Married, That's Life, The Color of Money, Soul Man, Trick or Treat, and Sky Bandits. See, I've not heard of any of these movies at all. And it's just a couple of years before I was born, actually. So none of these movies seems to have lasted the test of time. Now, I'm gonna tell you this: I don't have like the website pulled where I pulled the data from. I can tell you that when I was researching and putting these titles together, a bunch of these starred movie stars that are actually known to this day, like they're still active, like that. Like I can't think of any like names off the top of my head, but like think like Jack Nicholson or Susan Sarandon or somebody that was like relevant then or whatever, and they're still relevant now, like that kind of thing. So I gotta tell you, there's probably a majority of these movies like you can say, oh, I know who that is or whatever. So if you're interested, you can check them out. But yeah, there's these movies. They'd come out in 1986. Next up, we'll go ahead and move on to the 40-year mark here. And at 40 years ago, we have Paternity, which stars Burt Reynolds, and Halloween 2, which stars Jamie Lee Curtis, which is really interesting because Halloween Kills is actually coming out this week. So Jamie Lee Curtis is, in the movie. And as a matter of fact, a bunch of the actors reprised their role from Halloween 2. They're in the trailers. Like, I don't know if you saw that. Like, we did a Check This Out where they had a trailer where they had the side-by-side of all the original actors with their, their counterparts, their younger counterparts and stuff like that, both side by side. But yeah, really nothing much to say about that. Those are the only two movies of note that I saw. I think there were other movies that came out, but they're the only ones that I saw of note. And then let's see here. All right, 45 years ago, October of 1976. There's only one movie that I put on the dock here. Marathon Man, starring Dustin Hoffman. Okay, see, the only reason why I put it on there is because it's Dustin Hoffman. We all know who he is. He's Rain Man, as well as like other notable characters he's played. 50 years ago, October 1971, we have something called A Safe Place, starring Jack Nicholson. I want to say that was a critical and commercial flop when I was researching. Then there was The Last Picture Show, starring Jeff Bridges. I have some Wikipedia articles that I pulled up here, and it says that The Last Picture Show, let's see, It was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Jeff Bridges, and Supporting Actress for Cloris Leachman, among others. With what's his name? Let's see here. With Ben Johnson and Cloris Leachman winning for their roles. So in 1998, the Library of Congress selected the film for preservation in the United States National Film Registry for being, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. So yeah, that's what's major. That's what's really notable about the Last Picture Show. It had Oscar buzz, and it's in the Library of Congress, and it turned 50 years old this month. Let me see if I can give you guys a quick thing here. It says it's an American coming-of-age drama adapted from a semi-autobiographical 1966 novel. The film stars an ensemble cast. It is set in a small town of North Texas in November of 1951 to October of 1952. It is a story of two high school seniors and longtime friends. And yeah, I guess it's that, just those two major characters. And yeah, that's it's in black and white, by the way. So yeah, The Last Picture Show. I have actually heard of the name. I never knew what it was about. And then the big one that I sort of skipped over, I'm going to come circling back to. The big 50-year movie is The French Connection. And for those that are not movie buffs, The French Connection is a big, like, monumental movie because it is like a movie that a lot of directors, a lot of like people that are into film, they always cite it as an inspiration. It sort of is like the big thing. And so I pulled up a Roger Ebert review, and he gives us like a little quick history lesson, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. The French Connection is routinely included along with Bullet, Diva, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, on the short list of movies with the greatest chase scenes of all times. While it's not always remembered for, while it's while it not. What is not always remembered is what a good movie it is apart from the chase scene. It features a great early Gene Hackman performance that won an Academy Award, and it won Oscars for Best Picture, Direction, Screenplay, and Editing. Fair enough. The movie in all surface movement, violence, and suspense, only one of the character really emerges into 3 dimensions. But yeah, let's go ahead and stop it there. But basically, yeah, The French Connection is known for one of the most the greatest chase scenes in a movie. And I remember even watching like a TV show where like I forgot which show it was. I think it might have been Alcatraz, where like there was like a behind the scenes interview like during like the season finale of the Alcatraz, and like there's this chase scene that happened within the show, and then during the behind the scenes like little featurette or whatever. The director was talking about is like, yeah, the French Connection. I really wanted to pay homage to the French Connection, and there you go. So with it being a chase sequence, of course, it's going to win for best editing. I mean, you kind of need a good editing to really make something flow and make it visually easy to follow. So yeah, and Gene Hackman won an Oscar for the French Connection. So there you go, 50 years ago. So yeah, overall, I mean, actually, I kind of sort of undersold it. I think overall, like, it was a pretty decent lot. I had a lot of stories to tell, and probably wouldn't have told as many stories to tell you the truth. I kind of sort of like go on tangents and stuff like that without Troy to check me. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that was it, and we'll go ahead and move on to the impressions here, and so. For impressions, I actually sort of want to like I guess speed run them because I don't really have much to say. Oops, let's fix that. There we go. I don't really have much to say in sort of like for okay. So most of these things I watched like later, like earlier on, like 2 weeks ago. So it's really hard to bring things up when they're like sort of old, I guess. Like so, for instance, the first thing I wanted to talk about was What If, and with What If being like sort of old news, like it's really not interesting as much to talk about it now. Ultimately, like I think I was like high on it when I was first watching it, but like over time, it's sort of like fading, fading fast. By the way, like it's just I think for me, like the finale delivered what I was thinking that I wanted, but like I don't know if like an animated 25, 30 minute show can really capture like especially if it's an anthology series. Like I don't think it really can capture hype and excitement that you can with WandaVision, week to week. Especially with episodes that were hit or miss. But otherwise, it stuck the landing. The finale, there was a two-part finale that sort of focused in on Infinity Ultron, and so it's like the last, second to last episode is what if Ultron won, and then the last episode is what if the Watcher broke his oath, and it sort of assembled the multiverse Avengers. He called them the Guardians of the Multiverse, is what he dubbed them, and it brought along all the characters from like all the episodes, just sort of tying together, and sort of giving us like the ending to all their cliffhanger endings, because there was a lot of cliffhanger endings, and they sort of put a little bow, as well as like leaving things open enough for like season two, and then there was even like a little nod to like a nod to a lost episode that's gonna be done in season two, where they had a Gamora show up that was not at all like done in any previous episodes. So there's that. Um, Oddly enough, it's the only episode I watched twice because the action sequences were actually so dope that I ended up watching it a second time just for the action. So I guess there's that. Star Wars Visions, I don't really have much to say about that, simply because I don't remember. They sort of like blended to me with like with some of the stuff. I think I said already positive things about it, but I do now know more that Star Wars Visions is not canon, as my last understanding of the situation, which makes sense considering the what some of the things that they covered that wouldn't really sort of like piece together well with what was established as far as the canon goes. Um, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. I just wanted to say I think I liked Visions more, but the thing is with Visions, like I sort of like powered through them all in one week. Um, then I watched the Netflix movie The Guilty, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and I got to give it up to that movie because that movie was very intense, and it was just there was a lot going on at play as far as like a whole subplot that was in the background and sort of like lingering, and you can see at the end when they finally revealed what was really bothering him, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, what was bothering him, and they were sort of like dancing around and alluding to it, and then it just sort of paid off, and it sort of recontextualizes, what kind of stress his character was going through. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it. It definitely looks like a low budget movie. It looks like they could have shot it all in a week. It takes place in one location. Um, it's in an office building where he's Jake Gyllenhaal is playing like a police dispatcher, and so he's there, and it takes place over the course of one night when he's on the shift, and he's uh, he's taking phone calls with like his other officers, superiors, or whatever, and getting ready for like this hearing that he's gonna do the next day, which it takes place at the night, so we don't really get the hearing. We just sort of get like a little like what do you call it, like a credits that sort of like do flashes of news articles that like give us like the TLDR of what happens after the movie. Um, and so yeah, the movie itself is very like low-fi, like low budget, and like it's got all of these actors, like Ethan. I think Ethan Hawke might have been one of them, where they're all voice actors. You just sort of have the movie take place exclusively with what Jake Gyllenhaal and what he's seeing on his computer screen, on his face. You can see his facial expressions, what's his surroundings, and it's all like the whole movie is weighted, it's being carried on his shoulders, and intentionally so. There's only like two scenes that happen where that don't happen in the office building, and that's not even really like an actual scene that like cuts away. It was kind of like a blending where like you have it's still in the office building, but it's like fade in, like you can see the scene, and it's supposed to be more of like Jake Gyllenhaal imagining what he's seeing, and so to speak. So you don't really actually see what's going on. You don't get any cutaways, And I think that was really an interesting take. I think it's an interesting way of filming a movie. I think altogether, I think there was maybe like three primary speaking roles on camera, followed by like maybe four or five like supporting like one line of dialogue characters here in the background, and then the rest of like the like six or seven characters were all voices, and you literally can just record them on a separate day on a booth and just have Jake Gyllenhaal reacting like on set real quick or whatever. That's pretty much it. It was it had my attention. It was like it had me riveted, and I don't know, like I'm not even sure if I can rewatch that movie knowing like what's gonna happen, but it was definitely like all performance, I will say. And if you're having Netflix, you can watch it. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think you're gonna lose for watching it. So I'll recommend it. But like, if you're gonna like, most people are like gonna say, oh yeah, you should totally like subscribe to Netflix for that one movie. No, no. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and finalize everything with the impressions for Venom 2. I watched Venom: Let There Be Carnage in theaters, and I was not impressed by that movie. I left the movie feeling kind of hollow, kind of empty. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I didn't hate the movie, but I thought it was just mediocre. And I think the worst part is like the whole movie is only as good as it is only because of the post credit scene. I think the post credit scene was hype inducing, and it's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what are they gonna do next? And like, but the movie itself was just kind of meh. And yeah, I don't really have much to say other than it was a 90-minute movie. The movie was just sort of, the plot was sort of like, I don't know, sped run is like not a word I want to say, but it definitely felt like it was a very ABC plot. Like you can say, it summarized the plot by this happens, followed by this happens, followed by this happens, followed by this happens. You can say it in like four sentences what happened in the movie, um, and it's a very simple movie. Like that doesn't really have a lot of places to go, and you don't really have a lot of story to tell, and therefore you left with a 90-minute movie because there's not a lot going on with this movie. Um, I think I liked Venom 1 better. Um, they did do a lot of good things in this movie as far as like, they leaned on what was good about the first movie, such as if you like Tom Hardy and you like the symbiote and their interactions and their bickering and stuff like that, you get more of that, and they lean on the good things. I just I don't know. I've seen that movie already, and I've seen it already before, so I don't really need to. I don't really care, So I mean, I say I don't really care. It's like that's not the word I want to look for. But basically, it's just like a movie that didn't really bring anything new to the table, and the only thing that was really good about the movie is what happened with the post-credit scene and what they're implying that's going to happen with Venom potentially being more integrated with the MCU. So, and also plenty of fan speculation, fan theories. Is Venom going to appear in Spider-Man No Way Home? That kind of stuff. But yeah, overall, I mean, would I say go watch that movie in theaters? Probably not. I would think that's really interesting because I really am more inclined to recommend a superhero movie to go watch it in theaters. And I think there certainly is some spectacle to be had about like the movie theater experience, where because I watched the movie in IMAX and everything like that. But I don't know. Like I'm not entirely sure if that movie was warranted. I think the movie at times felt very low budget, especially with the final fight. You sort of see like the final fight in the trailers. It happens inside a church, and I was also kind of a little disappointed by the lack of Carnage and Venom interactions. I wanted more of that. So yeah, and that's all. I guess that's all. Like we'll go ahead and keep it at that. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and move on to the actual news.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
All right, so for the news, we're gonna go ahead and actually talk about some Venom. So Venom: Let There Be Carnage actually opened to $90 million last weekend. Not the Not this past weekend, but the weekend before that. We're going to go ahead and cover last weekend here as well. So Venom 2 galvanizes the box office. So what's next for movie theaters? Well, we're going to go and just talk. I'm only going to talk about just the actual like box office report. I'm not going to talk about like the little diatribe about what's next for movie theaters. I think that's a different conversation to be had. But for cinema operators and Hollywood studios alike, Venom: Let There Be Carnage has been the loudest indication yet that maybe, just maybe, movie theater businesses can rebound from COVID-19 wreckage. The Sony Pictures supervillain sequel sunk its teeth into the box office with a $90 million debut, a debut that's impressively reminiscent of opening weekends prior to the global health crisis. It's the biggest three-day haul for a pandemic-era release, ranking ahead of Black Widow for $80 million, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings for $75 million, and F9 The Fast Saga for $70 million. The follow-up film also surpassed its predecessor's $80 million launch back in 2018. So it actually made more money than Venom 1. So that's interesting. It also it almost said in October. Okay, so the $80 million opening weekend for Venom 1 at the time set the October box office record for the best October opening weekend of all time. But now it actually belongs to Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix, Todd Phillips movie, Joker, which Joker is currently sitting at $93.5 million. So now Venom: Let There Be Carnage is the second best opening weekend ever for October. So good job for that, especially with the whole during the pandemic. I wonder if the movie could have even done bigger without the pandemic. But we'll never know because this movie had several release dates changed and stuff like that. Young adult audiences are less deterred by current pandemic conditions than older and family moviegoers, which is benefiting superhero, action, and horror movies, says David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. He adds, for these movies, playing exclusively on the big screen is clearly an advantage. So Venom: Let There Be Carnage builds on the confidence that has been mounting through big screen hits like Shang-Chi and Free Guy. Still, it's too soon to declare that the movie theaters have made a complete comeback. As the pandemic lingers, audiences have remained hesitant to go to the movies, and the box office has been fluctuating by the week. So let's see. Let's go ahead and stop it there. And yeah, so Venom: Let There Be Carnage is definitely what is the word I'm looking for? Unmitigated? I guess let's go with that one. I don't even know if I'm using the word correctly here, but it's late and I can't think. But it's definitely by no stretch of the imagination, it's a hit through and through, pandemic or not pandemic. It outgrossed its original, and it's looking to be very good. I think even right now, it's made over $100 million. After its second weekend. So, yeah. No questions about that. And we'll go ahead and move on to the second part of this story here. It is actually regarding the No Time to Die. So this past weekend, the James Bond 007 movie, No Time to Die, opened in theaters. And it debuted with a slightly behind expectations with $56 million. So the Bond film has, in fact, grossed over $300 million worldwide, so that's good. But No Time to Die, the latest installment in the James Bond franchise, debuted at $56 million from 4,400 theaters at the domestic box office. The results fall somewhat short of expectations and signal that even one of the most storied brands in film history is still being forced to contend with a movie-going landscape that has been dramatically altered by the pandemic. Heading into the weekend, No Time to Die was projected to make $60 to $70 million in its first 3 days of release. Though not a disaster, the film's final weekend total was expected to be higher because it received positive reviews and represented Daniel Craig's final outing as the stylish secret agent. In light of the ongoing pandemic, assessing initial box office results for No Time to Die isn't as clear-cut. For some movies, especially during a public health crisis, an opening weekend of $56 million would be a cause for great jubilation. But No Time to Die is no ordinary film. It carries a massive $250 million production budget, to say nothing more of the $100 million in marketing spend, adds in the tens of millions it costs to delay No Time to Die, which is supposed to premiere back in April of 2020, before the pandemic altered those plans. And the box office experts estimate that conservatively, No Time to Die needs to gross at least $800 million at the global box office to make money in its theatrical window. For Bond, the franchise has numerous marketing partners and ancillary tie-ins with Rolex, Aston Martin, and more that could help cushion potential losses. Ticket sales at the international box office will be a huge factor in terms of profitability. So far, audiences have been turning out overseas, which has already made an impressive $145 million. Bond, global, spy extraordinaire. I think he's probably going to be more popular in probably in Britain or in the UK. So this is an interesting thing because I think with Venom and what happened with the $90 million, people were thinking, oh my God, was it gonna do $100 million? Is it, because with every major film release, so when you think about Godzilla, and then you think about A Quiet Place, and then we go to Fast Saga, and then Black Widow, and then Shang-Chi, they just sort of push each other up and up and up and up. They're always one-upping each other. It's like the farther we get away from the COVID, or as far as time-wise, the more you would think that was going to happen. And I would like to see what would be the first movie in the post-pandemic era to make $100 million in the first opening weekend. You know what I mean? That would be cool. And I think it's. I didn't even do my part. I didn't even go watch the movie, actually. That's why I didn't even have impressions for No Time to Die. I wanna see the movie, but I'm not in a rush to see it. I'm not oh my God, I need to see Bond. I need to see it. I think Venom. I was more hyped for Venom than I was for Bond. I'll just sort of get around to seeing it when I see it, and seeing it when I see it. And I think that's an interesting little what do you call it? It's an interesting sort of extrapolation that I want to just sort of put into it, because I think the Bond franchise doesn't skew as young as a Venom would. I think it skews older, and I think older audiences are not as prone to want to go watch the movie opening weekend. People would catch it on the second weekend or the third weekend, whenever they get around to it. And I think that's sort of the attitude that I'm also, facing. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell with it being needed to make $800 million to break even. I think it's a very scary proposition to be in, especially in this current climate, because I think, what is it, Fast Saga made $600 or $700 million worldwide. Let me see here. F9, the Fast Saga, worldwide box office. Yeah, the Fast Saga, F9, the Fast Saga, which is the highest grossing Western movie, because I think there's a couple of Chinese movies that made $800 million. But if we exclude these Chinese-made movies, so we're gonna just sort of put Bond in a Western sensibilities, right? The highest-grossing Western movie of the year is at $716 million. Yeah, if you want to break even, you would have to be the highest-grossing movie of 2021, basically. So it's a tall order, and I'm not even entirely sure what previous Bond movies here. Let's see here. Let's just do it. Bond, Daniel Craig, Bond movies grosses. Let's see here. Okay, so Skyfall made $1 billion. Spectre made $880 million. Okay, so we know that Daniel Craig's movies, and those are the two most recent ones, we know that Daniel Craig movies actually do have the ability to carry that kind of cachet. 1.1 billion at the box office. I think that's nothing to sneeze at. So it's possible. Not to say it's not impossible. That's good. So we know that Daniel Craig is popular, and also we know that this is his swan song, and I think that this might be the first ever Bond actor to get a swan song for their outings, because generally speaking, everyone goes out on a dud, and this one's being reviewed favorably. So we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. Maybe we'll know more on next week's show for weekend 2. Actually, I'm going to be recording next week's show pretty early because of my vacation, so I won't even know what the second weekend box office is when I do my fandom reaction. But anyways, we'll go ahead and keep it pushing here. So Friday the 13th the screenwriter for Friday the 13th wins a big appeal over copyright termination. So Victor Miller is set to reclaim the domestic rights to the franchise from the producers. Victor Miller once scared moviegoers with Friday the 13th. 4 decades after penning the influential horror flick, which prompted numerous sequels, he scored an important legal victory that may frighten Hollywood producers, including the people at Disney Marvel. On Thursday, the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed a win for him in a copyright termination battle. As a result, he is set to reclaim the domestic rights to the franchise. Miller attempted to leverage the part of copyright law that allows authors to reclaim the rights to what they once created after waiting a statutory set of period of time. A statutory set of period of time. It's not unlike what the heirs of the comic book creators are now attempting to do against Disney, although there are important differences given that Marvel comic books at issue were published before copyright laws were changed in the mid-1970s, and Friday the 13th came afterwards. But in alignment with Disney's argument, Friday the 13th producer Sean Cunningham argued that Miller contributed his screenplay as a work made for hire and that it was ineligible for termination. In September 2018, a federal judge ruled that it wasn't made work for hire. The appeal hinged on Miller's membership in a screenwriters union. Cunningham's company argued that weight should be placed on how the Writers Guild of America collectively bargains for working conditions, and as such, Miller should be deemed as an employee with no standing to terminate copyright. The findings that he wasn't an employee under copyright law conflicted with the National Labor Relations Act. Well, it was further posited by the producers. The Second Circuit, after a lengthy delay that annoyed Friday the 13th fans waiting for new sequels, rejects that arguments and concludes Miller was an independent contractor when he wrote the screenplay and therefore is entitled to authorship rights. The Copyright Act and the NLRA serve altogether different purposes and focus on different economic sectors. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there here. I'm just going to sort of skim as I go, but basically it says, and I'm going to go ahead and read to this last paragraph, and there's still reason for settlement given that producers retain non-exclusive foreign rights as well as intellectual property derived from Friday the 13th sequels, including maybe the monstrous Jason character that showed up later in the franchise. Interesting. So basically, with the whole Marvel situation, what's being debated is whether or not they were work for hire. So like with Stan Lee and all the other writers and their states, were they truly employees of Marvel when they wrote these comics, or were they independent contractors that were not employed by Marvel? So that's what's being debated, and that is a sticking point. So if they can prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt that they were independent contractors, then they have a claim to these Marvel characters. And I think that this is a story that can sort of be used in their favor for them to get the rights to these Marvel characters back away from Disney. But yeah, that's the whole thing, and it's a lot of times these things, when you go to court and you have certain courts appealing or upholding decisions, lawyers can use these decisions and these case laws to argue their cases, because you can sort of what is it called? In a court of law, you have case law or previous cases that you can draw from, and then this is like another bullet in the chamber for them. So yeah, as I stated before, with last time I said this, I'll keep an eye on these kinds of situations and I'll report back whenever I see something new. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and keep it pushing. Scarlett Johansson, speaking of keeping an eye on things, I always keep an eye on, updates. So basically, Scarlett Johansson, she settled with Disney. So she's basically like she won. Disney did not want to go to court, and if it's a lawsuit, it's public record, when all of these things, whenever they come out in court, they're made public. You can't, hide these things behind non-disclosure agreements or what do you call it? A hush, whatever. Not hush money, but like gag orders and stuff like that. So that's why Disney decided to go to the table with Scarlett Johansson, and they hashed out a deal. The very thing that Bob Chapek didn't do in the first place, they decided just to go ahead and just settle out of court. And I'm pretty sure Scarlett Johansson got exactly what she wanted, and then some. So we don't even know publicly like what it's valued at, like how much money did she get. I heard rumors, but I forgot what the rumors were. Like the story is a couple of weeks old actually, dating back on September 30th. So the settlement ends a back and forth PR battle between Disney and Scarlett Johansson. It says that ScarJo and Disney has settled a breach of contract lawsuit over the star's Black Widow payday. The Hollywood Reporter has learned terms of the deal, however, not disclosed. Quote, and comes from Scarlett Johansson. Quote, I am happy to have resolved our differences with Disney. I am incredibly proud of the work we've done together over the years and have greatly enjoyed my creative relationship with the team. I look forward to continuing our collaboration in years to come. Disney Studios chairman Alan Bergman added, quote, I'm very pleased that we have been able to come to a mutual agreement with Scarlett Johansson regarding Black Widow. We appreciate her contributions to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and look forward to working together on a number of upcoming projects, including Disney's Tower of Terror. So I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to go into more. This article sort of gives us a little bit more backstory that I've already covered in previous episodes of this very podcast. So I don't need to really rehash it here. Basically, Scarlett Johansson, Disney cut Scarlett Johansson a check, and they gave her another job in Disney's Tower of Terror. And Disney has gone on the record in the previous past where saying, oh yeah, we're not going to work with Scarlett Johansson again. She's not professional. Well, now, they are. They're just sort of, doing an about face. And I think that's really hilarious. The only thing that I would have really loved more, just to add that little cherry on top, is if it came with an apology, because Disney really dragged Scarlett Johansson's name through the mud and sort of talked shit about her. And she's like, oh yeah, she's not professional, or what do you call it? She's already got paid $20 million, like kind of like throwing her salary out in the open kind of thing. And yeah, that's not very cool. And also not to mention that Disney didn't do a good job of avoiding this PR nightmare, because it could have, as we've been talking about it week to week to week in this podcast, there were just so many fumbles that just makes Disney and Bob Chapek look really bad. And so, yeah, good for her. I don't want to speculate what the money was, but I'm pretty sure whatever paycheck Scarlett Johansson got, it would have been more than what they probably would have been able to get with. I'm pretty sure, I'm willing to bet money that when I did the story about Bob Chapek refusing to talk to that one guy at the talent agency, I'm pretty sure that their real asking price, was lower than what they had to pay on this settlement. So I'm pretty sure this cost Disney more money than it needed to. And you'll probably take that to the bank. All right. Now, this one's a controversy here. Netflix is under fire because of Dave Chappelle's comedy special. It's called The Closer. And he criticized the LGBTQ plus community with comments that he said during the Netflix special. And we'll go ahead and just sort of dissect it. I don't really know where I stand on it personally. But yeah, and I haven't seen the special. I want to go ahead and preface by that. The special literally got announced the day before it went live. So if I was going to be able to do a show last week, it would have already been out by the time I would have done the show anyways, on time, like if I were to do it on time. It was a trailer narrated by Morgan Freeman, and Chappelle is driving in a truck, in a pickup truck, in a country road, and then Morgan Freeman is narrating everything, and then like Dave Chappelle is like, "God damn it, shut up!" And then he like in the camera pans, and then there's Morgan Freeman, and he's like, like he narrating. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," that kind of stuff. So that's literally the only thing I saw. So it was like basically a trailer, and it's like it's coming tomorrow. It's like that quickly. Like so. Let's go ahead and read this article. It says this comes from CBS News. Comedian Dave Chappelle is being criticized for comments that he made about the LGBTQ plus community in his latest Netflix special. In The Closer, which premiered on Tuesday, Chappelle addressed several controversies surrounding his past comments on the LGBTQ plus community. Chappelle talked about how other black rappers and comedians have been, quote, canceled and lost monetary projects because of divisive comments or jokes, including comedian Kevin Hart and rapper DaBaby. Quote, "In our country, you can shoot and kill an N-word, but you better not hurt a gay person's feelings, Chappelle quipped. And this is precisely the disparity that I wish to discuss. Chappelle also made a series of comments on transgender people, agreeing with Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling on her anti-trans statements. Quote, "I'm Team TERF," Chappelle said, referring to trans exclusionary radical feminism as anti-trans section of radical feminism. Gender is a fact. Every human being in this room, every human being on Earth had to pass through the legs of woman to be on Earth, Chappelle said. Chappelle also said that he beat up a lesbian in a nightclub after he approached her partner, and she later tried to sell the story to TMZ. Quote, "I whooped the toxic masculinity out of that bee," he said. Several viewers took affront to Chappelle's numerous jabs at transgender people, including explicit comments about a transgender person's genitals. Quote, "Chappelle's transphobia and lack of understanding that black people can be both black and gay shows exactly why it's critical to understand intersectionality and how black cis men, despite being marginalized for their blackness, can perpetuate systems of oppression." Dr. Oni Blackstock tweeted Wednesday. The Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation also criticized the comedian. Quote, "Dave Chappelle's brand has become synonymous with ridiculing trans people and other marginalized communities," GLAAD tweeted Wednesday evening. Negative reviews and viewers loudly condemning the latest special is a special message to the industry that audiences don't support performing anti-LGBTQ diatribes. We agree. The comedian ended his special by saying that he would not be making any more jokes about gay people until everyone agreed we are laughing together, so long as the LGBTQ plus community stop taking away job opportunities from people who offend them. So, Chappelle said he had a close relationship with a transgender comedian, Daphne Dorfman, before she died by suicide in 2019, and he is now dedicated to taking care of her daughter. Chappelle considered Dorfman a part of his tribe. So I don't know what the trans communities did for her, but I don't care because I feel like she wasn't their tribe. She was mine. She was a comedian in her soul, Chappelle said, before explaining that he will no longer tell jokes with gay people as the punchline. So I don't know. In my personal opinion, like, I don't think Chappelle is the kind of person that has like that kind of like evil in his heart. I think he just sort of like tells his jokes, and not so much like, I don't want to say make it sound that simple, like he just tells his jokes. I think he's just more of like telling his insight into the world. He's sort of like, comedy is a good way, it's a good lens of sort of like, it's a good lens to sort of view the world by, as far as like seeing like the hypocrisy or like the double standards, see like, human behavior and sort of mock it and lampoon it. I think that's what he does best. And when you think about like the Chappelle show from like the early 2000s, like everybody got their jabs. It's like no one, like black people, white people, like Hispanics, like everyone, gets you get your jabs and stuff like that. It's these, everyone's a target, indiscriminately. I think that's sort of like like an egalitarian way of doing comedy. I don't think there was like any one thing where it's like he likes to hone in on things. I think he just sort of likes to hone in on human nature or hone in on what's on his mind. So without knowing, like with only having only just this article to go by, like I'm not entirely offended myself, whatever. Which you can take that with whatever you want, however you want it. So yeah, I mean, I've never known Chappelle to be like, how do I put this? Like cancel worthy, which maybe he is because what do you call it? The tastes of people change. Maybe if you were to do Chappelle's show exactly the way it was, but air it now, is it canceled? I don't know. I really don't know. That's like I guess like a different type of time and place where like culture changes, and maybe he just doesn't change, which that's a whole discussion to have. But yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. But I'm gonna just go ahead and give you guys an update to the story. Now I didn't put the story in the dark, but I just read the headline. Netflix affirmed a decision to keep the special up on Netflix because people were wanting, tweeting at Netflix and trying to cancel Dave Chappelle, and they were trying to say that he's anti-trans and hate speech. How dare you, Netflix? How dare you give this man a platform? And basically, Netflix has sided with Chappelle and said, we don't think his special crosses that line, that threshold. So we're going to keep it. And so there you go. And then there was some infighting at Netflix. So Netflix suspended 3 employees that were including a trans person, which one of them was a trans person, who spoke out against Dave Chappelle, and they crashed a leadership meeting. So they got suspended for barging into a meeting with leaders at Netflix. So let's go ahead and read this article. Netflix has suspended 3 employees for crashing a meeting of its top executives, including an out trans person who criticized a new comedy special from Dave Chappelle. Sources tell Variety. Tara Field, a senior software engineer based in San Francisco, was among those suspended in late last week for attending the QBR, Netflix's quarterly business review, a 2-day affair that convenes with the top 500 employees at the company. Field, who identified as queer and trans, and the other Netflix employees were not invited to the virtual gathering. According to insiders, Netflix did not suspend Field over the recent tweets decrying what she called as anti-trans jokes in the Chappelle special. Individuals familiar with Netflix said, but for attending uninvited. An investigation has been launched into the 3 employees. Field did not immediately respond to requests for comments. Quote, it is absolutely untrue to say that we have suspended any employees for tweeting about this show. Our employees are encouraged to disagree openly, and we support their right to do so, a Netflix spokesperson told Variety. Last Wednesday, Field wrote a lengthy Twitter thread about the closer, the new Chappelle stand-up special, in which comic accuses trans communities of having thin skin. In her tweets, Field writes, yesterday we launched another Chappelle special where he attacks the trans community and the very validity of transness, all while trying to pit us against the other marginalized groups. You're going to hear a lot of talk about offense. We are not offended. Field went on to say, Chappelle, our existence is funny to him, and we object to this harm. We're offended. She then listed numerous names of trans people, specifically highlighting trans women of color killed in hate crimes. So at the meeting, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos fielded questions about how leadership should handle employees and talents upset over Chappelle's remarks. He addressed the entire group in a memo after the event, which Variety obtained on Monday. quote, Chappelle is one of the most popular stand-up comedians today, and we have a long-standing deal with him. His last special, Sticks and Stones, also controversial, is our most watched, stickiest and most award-winning stand-up special, Sarandos wrote. As with our other talent, we work hard to support their creative freedom, even though this means that there will always be content on Netflix some people believe is harmful. So Netflix talent speaking out against the Chappelle special includes Jacqueline Moore, the showrunner of its original series, Dear White People. Interesting. Isn't that like very like, I don't know, like the pot calling the kettle black or something? I don't know. I feel like there's like a phrase for this or something like that. But yeah. So yeah, this is interesting. Like, I mean, I think there is like an employee code of conduct that they broke, going into a meeting that they're not supposed to go to. I mean, I think it's fair for them to get suspended for taking such actions. I mean, you're not gonna. I'm glad that at least Netflix isn't gonna penalize you for tweeting your thoughts, and I can understand why you'd be riled up. You know what I mean? Like I get it, but and just barging into a meeting and just disrupting and a meeting that, mind you, has nothing to do with Dave Chappelle or whatever. It's a business meeting. It's like what do you call it? It says a quarterly business review is what it is. It has nothing to do with content. You know what I mean? Like I think you're you're doing the wrong things. You're doing it the wrong way, in my opinion. So, but yeah, I guess this is a good way of getting attention or making the news, I guess. And I'm pretty sure this person's gonna to use this as an excuse to you say oh, the man's keeping me down, or you look, they're trying to hush me or whatever, or they're trying to silence me, that kind of bullshit. But whatever. I believe that is it for the top news, and we're gonna go ahead and I'll just read you guys the extra news. Since we had 2 weeks of stuff, I had to cut things and I had to whittle it down to, I believe, 14 items. Yeah, 14 items on the list for extra news. All right, number 1, Will Poulter is cast as Adam Warlock. Number 2, Disney executive Alan Horn is retiring and will go down as one of the most successful film executives. Number 3, Cillian Murphy has been cast as the lead in Christopher Nolan's next film, which we talked about in a previous episode about the making of the atom bomb? Question mark? Forgot. I already forgot already. Number 4, Catherine Hahn, Agatha Harkness series is being greenlit. It's going to come to Disney+. Number 5, Foundation gets a second season order from Apple TV+. Number 6, Joaquin Phoenix is interested in a Joker sequel. Number 7, IATSE strike vote has been approved, so the chairman has the ability to call a strike. They've been voted to do that, to give him that power. And IATSE also further says that studios are not doing enough to avoid the strike. Number 8, Ridley Scott says Gladiator 2 is still coming. Number 9, Solstice Studios, which is known for the Russell Crowe movie Unhinged, which was also known for being the first major movie to open in theaters post the pandemic, is possibly closing its doors. It's already laid off a bunch of executives within the studio because they're still working on one more movie that they're doing with Ben Affleck. Number 10, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is still moving forward with plans for a Golden Globes in January 2022, but is still not sure if it will be televised or if it will be a press conference. They got dropped by NBC, as we talked about, and so now they don't have a network to air them. So they're still going to award the Golden Globes. They just don't know if it's going to be how they're going to do it. Number 11, Disney is making a movie about the creation of Disneyland, because why not? It's very self-serving. It's almost like a circle jerk kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, what are we going to do? Make a movie about ourselves. But to be fair though, Disneyland is almost a city in and of itself. It's like a very complicated thing where Disney wanted to make like this perfect utopian city, and then he bought a whole fucking big ass thing of land that's basically its own township. I think I don't know. I think that's like a whole, I saw a little documentary about that. Number 12, on National Coming Out Day, DC Comics announced that Jonathan Kent, Jonathan Kent, who is the son of Clark Kent, is coming out as bisexual on the November 9th issue of Superman, Son of Kal-El, #5. And I'll even just pull up this article in Variety, and you can see right here, there's Superman in the Superman costume making out with, I believe this character is an Asian guy with pink hair, very, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, very on the nose, I guess. Yeah. Number 13, Hotel Transylvania 4 is headed to Amazon and has a January 14th, 2022 release date. It was supposed to come out on October 1st, and so now they finally got sold to Amazon, and now they're got the January release date official. And finally, number 14th is the box office report. Just like usual, No Time to Die opens soft with a $55.2 million opening weekend. Venom 2 drops to number 2 with a 64% drop, but still surpasses 100 million. And Shang-Chi is well past $200 million. So yeah, I'm pulling up the chart here. Yeah, a 64% drop is very high. Is very, very high. But it's at $141 million so far, so hopefully we can see how much gas there is in the tank for Venom. Maybe can it get to $200 million? I don't know. But yeah, that's going to be it for the extra news. Don't know if I really want to say anything. I mean, I think I might have said everything as I wanted to say. I will say about Will Poulter. Will Poulter, like I remember when he was a child actor. So it's kind of crazy to see that he's still, doing big things, and he's very young, and I remember he was that awkward teenage guy, the awkward teenager, and We're the Millers. He's done a lot of different things. Like I just can't think of anything off the top of my head. He's always that annoying kid from Dawn of the Void Shredder. But yeah, he's cast as Adam Warlock, and I am actually kind of surprised, to tell you the truth, that they were gonna look for an actor that young. To tell you the truth, like when I think of like an actor to play Adam Warlock, I'm thinking like somebody in their 30s, somebody in that Chris Pratt age range, I didn't think they were gonna go somebody in their early 20s, but there you go. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about any of the other stuff. I think I would have said stuff on on a regular normal show, but none of these things really get my attention anyways. So we'll go ahead and move on to check this out.
Check this out.
All right, so for check this out, we have a couple of things that we wanted to go over here. So because it's been 2 weeks, I actually skipped a lot of trailers. So I just sort of, kind of like whittled it down to like, I want to say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trailers. Not too bad. 7 trailers plus 2 pictures. So we have a set image of Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka. So let me just blow this up here real quick. But yeah, that's there he is. Timothée Chalamet in costume and camera and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say. There's nothing to say other than he looks like Willy Wonka. So yeah, that's cool. Next up is some photos from the set of Expendables. So Sylvester Stallone took to his Instagram and he put out 3 pictures and 1 video. Here's a video of him like revving the engine to his car, or his motorcycle, excuse me. I'm not going to play the video, don't really care to, but here's an image. Here's an image of him in the motorcycle with a cigar. Here's an image with him and Jason Statham, I guess as they're doing their lines or rehearsals or whatever. And here's an image of him with, I believe this is Dolph Lundgren, I want to say. So, yeah, cool. Next up is the, so, as much as I would love to be able to play all this stuff for you guys on screen like I normally would, or no, I'm saying I normally would, as you guys know I would like to, of course, copyright claims and stuff like that are a thing, so can't do it. So you guys, just make sure to go in the description and check out the links. They will all be there for you guys to watch what I'm talking about. The first order of business is Cowboy Bebop. Now, Netflix decided to. Oh, there we go. Let's do that. Netflix has decided to put out the opening sequence, like the opening credits, and they nailed it. Like it's so good. It's like the whole. First off, the music. It's the exact same music. It's probably been remastered for all I can tell, or maybe not. Maybe it was already good as it needed to be. But you got John Cho and everyone, all the cast doing their thing, and it looks like a recreation of like the opening cinematic or the opening title sequence of Cowboy Bebop for the animated show, the anime. And so I think IGN like put a video of like them like compared like side by side, and I was surprised that there were a couple of beats that were exactly like one for one, but I was surprised that they kind of sort of did their own thing. They didn't really like do a full on recreation, so it wasn't like an exact remake. You know, it was like in the style, but not like a shot for shot remake. So I think it worked. I think it works. Next up, we got Scream 5. The trailer for Scream 5 came out. Stars Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Neve Campbell. And I'm gonna say that I'm not sure if I needed this movie. Like I was all about Scream 4 back in when it came out, and I want to say 2011. I don't even remember. I don't think it was that. I don't know, 2010, whatever the year it came out. So I feel like it's been modern enough. It doesn't need to be coming out. And what's kind of hilarious is actually the beginning of the trailer. You know how like in the movies, like they always have like a landline or like a home phone, and then somebody calls it, and then they always answer. And it's like, "What's your favorite scary movie?" kind of shit. And in this trailer, it opens up with her calling the killer calling the landline, and the character, the teenager, just doesn't answer. It's like unlisted numbers. Like I'm not gonna answer it. And so, and then the character gets a text message saying you should answer your phone or whatever. So, and then what's kind of interesting is they have like the technology with like the locks. You know, the home is automated. You know what I mean? So like, if I wanted to lock the doors to my house, I can go on my phone, press an app, and then lock the doors. You know, or unlock the doors. And so like the killer is like unlocking the doors like manual or through whatever. I guess they hacked into their home, their smart home or whatever. And yeah, I'm a little concerned about David Arquette's character. I hope David Arquette doesn't get killed off because the trailer really seemed to put him in a lot of danger. I'm wondering, like, because the Trinity, right? You got Courtney Cox, you got Neve Campbell, and you got David Arquette. These are the three characters that have been in every Scream movie, from Scream 1 through Scream 5. You know, like, they're in every single movie, and they made it, and with Scream 3 and Scream 4 specifically, with those two movies, they made it seem like it was going to be no holds barred. You know, like, you know, anyone can die. You know, no one is safe, not even the main characters, kind of thing. And so you even thought, like, for a second that in Scream 4 they almost killed off Courtney Cox. She almost died. And then Neve Campbell, she almost died as well. So you're thinking to myself, oh my god, like, are they going to finally kill off a main character? And so in this one, it's like, I wonder, like, are they really gonna kill off one of the main characters, like the Trinity? You know what I mean? Like the untouchables, the unkillables. You know. So, otherwise, I mean, this movie seems kind of also ran. So I don't really have any like hype for this movie in particular. So I'll probably watch it though. Next up is Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. This movie looks like it's like a reboot, remake, a remook, a remake reboot hybrid thing, and it's sort of telling it's got the mansion from Resident Evil 1, it's got the police station from Resident Evil 2, so it's sort of like combining them into one story. So yeah, cool. Not really. This trailer didn't really like make me hype, but I'll watch it just because it's Resident Evil. Then we got Disney's Encanto. This actually gives us more trailer, or like more trailer. This actually gives us more plot. We have more dialogue. You know what kind of adventure the main character is going to go on. Basically, all of like the characters that have quirks and whatever, they're losing their powers, and they got to find out what the hell's going on. So they have the one character who doesn't have powers, you know, going on a journey to find out, you know, what the hell's going on. So there we go. The 355. This is a movie starring Jessica Chastain and Penelope Cruz and Lupita Nyong'o. I want to say that this movie was supposed to have come out already before, but I guess it got delayed. But the 355 is going to come out in theaters in January, and it's about these chicks that are, the aforementioned movie stars that I mentioned. They are basically top secret super agents, so it's an action movie. Not impressed, I would say. I'm not impressed by a bunch of these trailers. Next up, Lost in Space Season 3, Danger Will Robinson. So I'm a fan of the Lost in Space Netflix show. The one thing I hate about Lost in Space is that it takes really, really long time between seasons. It feels like it's been 2 years per season. Like you get a season, 2 years later, season 2 comes out. 2 years later, season 3 comes out. So the time between seasons is like a buzz killer, in my opinion. It really, kills the hype. And it's also being advertised as a third and final season. And which is really interesting is like, I vaguely remember this being like supposed to be a 4-season show. Like, I remember reading interviews where like, oh yeah, we have plans for 4 seasons and we're gonna end the show. But I'm guessing they changed their plans and now they're gonna end it after season 3. I hope the conclusion is good because season 1 ended a cliffhanger, season 2 ended a cliffhanger. So I hope that there's no more cliffhangers and we can finally, have these characters live happily ever after. So yeah. Next up is Army of Thieves. And Army of Darkness, I believe, was the zombie movie that was starring what's the guy's Drax's name? Damn it, let's go. It's Drax. Dave Bautista. There we go. Man, it's really late. So Dave Bautista is, he did Army of Darkness, and now there's a spin-off movie within the same year called Army of Thieves, and it stars the guy that was the safe cracker. He's like, hey, shh. It's like, let me listen to this safe or whatever. Let me crack this safe. So Army of Thieves is a prequel starring that guy, the safe cracker guy, and he's being like brought into like this army of thieves, and basically, and they're doing a job, like a high stakes job where they all have to, and he even does the thing where like he says, oh, are we all gonna bring our skills, like all our unique skills to pull off an impossible job that only we can do together, like kind of like Ocean's 11, like he's even like basically saying it. Like I like it whenever like these characters like they do like a very pointing out, like they point it out, and they're like, well, yeah, like there's kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess, Army of the Dead, that's the one. Fuck, I got it wrong. So in the prequel to Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, a small town bank teller Dietzer gets drawn into the adventures of a lifetime. When a mysterious woman recruits him to join a crew of Interpol's most wanted criminals, attempting to heist a sequence of legendary, impossible-to-crack safes across Europe. It's going to arrive on Netflix on October 29th. So, Army of Thieves. Cool. And, that's going to be it for Check This Out. And I'm going to go ahead and move things along to Netflix and Chill. So for Netflix and Chill, we do the charts as well as giving you guys a recommendation of what to watch on a streaming service. So for the Netflix things, I just got to say, our number 1 on Netflix is Squid Game. For the third week, let's go with third week in a row. I believe it is the third week in a row because last week it was number 1. I believe last week it was number 1 during the Squid Game spoiler cast. So it's managing to stay on the top of the list. And what's kind of interesting is like, even my mom is watching Squid Game. She started watching it. So it's like this show is so popular that even like there's even more people that hadn't heard about it that are coming onto the show that are keeping the popularity alive. It's sort of staying on top of the charts, and it's kind of interesting. So it was like, I think it was like, so if I'm not mistaken, it was, so last week during the non-normal show. Yeah, okay. So this is the third week because it's this week, last week during the spoiler cast, during the non-normal show, and then it was number 1 with Troy when Troy was on the show. And then the week before that, it was number 2. So it's literally like this might be the longest reign I've ever seen of anything on the Netflix charts because usually when it comes to the Netflix charts, things come and go. It's very high turnover. They churn through content really quickly, and things like Squid Game being number one for as long as it is unheard of. Number two is Made. Number three is Dave Chappelle's The Closer. So number three on Netflix. Number four is On My Block. Number five is Shameless. Number six is The Five Juanas. Number seven is Midnight Mass. Number eight is the Jake Gyllenhaal movie The Guilty. And number nine is Coco Melon. And number 10 is The Blacklist. Not much to say about any of this stuff. Whatever. Number 10, the top 10 movies on Netflix. Now, interestingly enough, everything I mentioned on the last chart, it's an amalgamation of both series and movies. So it just so happens that there's only one movie that's on the Netflix overall charts, and that was The Guilty. It was at number 8. And so when you sort of like then pluck it out and make a movie list, The Guilty is number 1. It's the number 1 movie. And so everything else on the movie list is all new because the series sort of run the show. So number 2 is Titanic, the 1999, I want to say it was 99 movie with Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio. Number 3 is There's Someone Inside Your House. Number 4 is My Little Pony, A New Generation. Number 5 is a rom-com movie called Something Borrowed. Number 6 is Lull, The Surprise, the movie. Number 7 is Step Brothers, the Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly movie. Classic, you know, I'm on a boat and all that kind of stuff. Or, yeah. Number 8, no, it's not I'm on a boat. That's The Lonely Island. I think it was Boats and Hoes, if I'm not mistaken, is what the song was called. Number 8 is Pokemon the movie, Secrets of the Jungle. Number 9 is the Robin Williams 1995 movie, Jumanji. And number 10 is the Jackie Chan, what's Will Smith's son's name? I can't remember Will Smith's son. Jaden Smith. Okay. I couldn't remember Jaden Smith's name. So yeah, Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, the Karate Kid remake from 2010. And that, for whatever reason, that was like the number 10 movie on Netflix. Next up is the iTunes charts. Number 1, we got Free Guy. Number 2 is the M. Night Shyamalan movie Old. Number 3 is F9 The Fast Saga. Number 4 is Venom, the first one. Number 5 is Spectre. Number 6 is The Green Knight. Number 7 is Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. Number 8 is The Night House. Number 9 is Jungle Cruise. And number 10 is Paw Patrol, the movie. So, interestingly enough, people are watching Spectre in preparation of No Time to Die. And the top 10 movies on Amazon Prime, number 1 is Free Guy, the 4K version. Number 2 is F9 The Fast Saga. Number 3 is Venom. Number 4 is Spectre. Number 5 is Candyman. Number 6 is Free Guy, again, the HD version this time. Number 7 is The Protege. Number 8 is Don't Breathe 2. Number 9 is Paw Patrol, the movie. And number 10 is A Quiet Place Part 2. A lot of also rans on the Amazon charts. Nothing really amazing happening there. And as far as my recommendation for the week, I decided to recommend to you guys a movie called Warm Bodies. It stars Nicholas Hoult, and it is on HBO Max. And the reason why I want to recommend this movie to you guys, it's not even like an old movie. It's like, I think it came out in the 2010s. I forgot what year it came out, but it's sort of recent, and it's not even a deep cut. I think it was pretty popular, I want to say. Like, I don't know, like how what the reach is. Like, I don't say, like I say popular, like, oh my god, it blew up the box office with hundreds of $1 million. But I remember this movie like being like pretty well regarded and well received. It is a movie about Nicholas Hoult. His character's name is R because he doesn't remember his name. He just knows that it started with the letter R. So Nicholas Holt's character, he is a zombie, and he's like, you know, feeding on brains and shit like that or whatever. So he doesn't want to be a zombie anymore. He wants to be a person, a real boy, like Pinocchio kind of thing. And so then he finds a young, pretty girl, blonde hair, you know, like very pretty. and he sees her and is just an utter shock and awe and starstruck kind of thing, where it's like, oh my god. And instead of eating her, he befriends her and, sort of like in love with her kind of thing. And so then, because of, his, like, I guess, like, he starts having a heartbeat again. So, like, since he's a zombie, he's dead, right? He didn't have a heartbeat, but now he has a heartbeat, and now he's becoming human and becoming more alive, and that's what the movie's about. It's like it's not a romance movie. I think there's romance in it, but it's not the focus point. I think there was a lot of comedy. There was some action. It's really hard to explain, I guess. It's yeah. I don't know if it's like an amalgamation of all these genres, but it's a zombie movie. Little romance, little Romeo and Juliet kind of vibes, and the comedy and action stuff. There's an action set piece towards the end of the movie, so with explosions and shit. So yeah, Warm Bodies. It's not going to be on HBO Max forever. It was not produced by Warner Brothers. It was actually distributed by Lionsgate. So I'm pretty sure that Warm Bodies is being like licensed because of it's probably like airing on HBO, like the actual channel proper. So the reason why I would encourage you guys to go watch Warm Bodies is because you guys should watch it before it leaves. Lionsgate doesn't have a streaming service, and I tried looking this movie up like last year when I was like, I want to watch Warm Bodies just because I sort of like randomly thought about it, and there was no streaming services that had it. It was on an Amazon Prime, it was on a Netflix, it wasn't on anything. And if you wanted to watch it, you got to go pay for it on iTunes or whatever. And I wasn't about that life. I'm not going to pay $3 to watch this movie. I want to watch it when it's on a streaming service, and here we are. It got added on to HBO Max this month, so that's my recommendation for the week. And finally, we're going to go ahead and close out the show with your new releases that are coming out this week. So let's go ahead and hit them up.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Who would have thought that I would have been able to pull off a 2-hour podcast, all by myself? There's so much to talk about. Like I said, I had a feeling that it was going to be a 2-hour show. And what's kind of interesting is like I'm feeling my voice sort of go. So it's time to go ahead and just wrap it up here. So No Time to Die was the pick of the week last week, easily for sure, because No Time to Die was the only new release last week. Came out on October 8th. James Bond is enjoying a tranquil life in Jamaica after leaving active service. However, his peace is short-lived as his old CIA friend Felix Leiter shows up and asks for help. The mission to rescue a kidnapped scientist turns out to be far more treacherous than expected, leading Bond on the trail of a mysterious villain who is armed with a dangerous new technology. The film stars Daniel Craig, Rami Malek, Leah Seydoux, Lashana Lynch, Ben Whishaw, Naomi Harris, Jeffrey Wright, Christoph Waltz, and Ralph Fiennes. Next up, we have this week's new releases. We got The Last Duel, which is in theaters this Friday on October 15th. Jean de Carouge is a respected knight known for his bravery and skill on the battlefield. Jacques Legris is a squire whose intelligence and eloquence makes him one of the most admired nobles in court. When Legris viciously assaults Carouge's wife, she steps forward to accuse her attacker, an act of bravery and defiance that puts her life in jeopardy. The ensuing trial by combat, a grueling duel to the death, places the fate of all three in God's hands. The film stars Matt Damon, Adam Driver, Jodie Comer, and Ben Affleck. Next up is Halloween Kills, out this Friday on October 15th, as well as on Peacock. So there you go. The nightmare isn't over as an unstoppable killer, Michael Myers, escapes from Laurie Strode's trap to continue his ritual bloodbath. Injured and taken to the hospital, Lori fights through the pain as she inspires residents of Haddonfield, Illinois, to rise up against Myers. Taking matters into their own hands, the Strode and women and other survivors form a vigilante mob to hunt down Michael and end his reign of terror once and for all. The film stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, Andy Matichak, Will Patton, Thomas Mann, Anthony Michael Hall, and Kyle Richards. And finally, a public service announcement. The new season of Coco Melon, Season 4, is dropping on October 15th, which is this Friday, as well as the Netflix show You, Y-O-U, is dropping its third season on October 15th. And if you are already a Disney Plus subscriber, Black Widow has been made available to stream to all Disney Plus subscribers. So yeah, as far as my pick of the week, I didn't watch the Halloween movies. Like, I didn't watch the 2018 Halloween let's go with what is that? Rebookable, like the reboot sequel. So since I didn't watch Halloween 2018, I'm not entirely like thrilled or like excited to see Halloween Kills. So that's gonna be on the back burner. So by default, The Last Duel wins my pick of the week. Plus the trailer looked hella interesting. Like the trailer itself told the story, and so you sort of get the stakes, and you know what's at stake. So yeah, Adam Driver, I'm pretty sure like between Adam Driver and Matt Damon and Jodie Comer, all three of them are probably gonna get Oscar nominations. So there you go. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the show. Whew. It is time to end. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Ready Play Movies. Remember, you can reach the podcast by email at readyplaymovies@gmail.com or simply at readyplaymovies on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Chakalaka88, and don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends about the show, and all that good stuff. See you next time.